Sorry guys, I've just been talking to myself for the last half an hour, teaching you how to make a cane, and it's all gone pear-shaped because I'm at this stage and I haven't been recording. So I'm just going to talk you through quickly what I did. I got some white and some carmine red, and basically I put them through my pasta machine. Just a minute. Right. So what I did was I got white and red and I made a skinner blend out of it. There's lots of videos that show you how to make skinner blends, but basically you get it and you put it together like that, preferably in triangles, so that you get a little bit more red and a little bit more white at the ends. You then fold it in half and put it through your skinner blend, your pasta machine, or you roll it out and you just keep folding it like that until you get something that looks like that. So you get a gradation of colour from the red through to the white. Then what I did, I'll just do this a couple more times so you get an idea. Can't believe I've done that. I always forget to hit that go live button. It's so annoying. So you put it through the pasta machine about up to between 15 and 20 times. And eventually you'll get a blend of colour. And you always put it in fold side up. So you fold it in half. So the same colours on the same colour. You can actually skew it a little bit. Put it together and you put it this way, fold side down. You never put it in that way around because that collects air bubbles. So you can put it in lengthways because there's an exit point, or you put it in fold first. But at this minute, we're concentrating on put it in fold first because we're after a skinner blend, which is basically a graduation of colour. You choose whatever colours you want, you put them together, then you put them through the pasta machine in a graduation so that they start to form a shades of colour. So this one will go red through to white. And as I'm making poppies, I wanted the red to be more predominant. So we had a little bit more red in the skinner blend than we did white. So we just ran it through the pasta machine on a number one for about 15 to 20 times. I think I might have done it a bit more than that. So then we get something like this, and I worked it a bit more so we had a more graduation. Then we fold it on itself like that, so we get a long tube. And we fold it so the same colours on, so white to white, red to red, and then we put it through the pasta machine that way around. And this is when we put it onto a thin setting, so I went right down to 9. So we've got a nice thin ribbon of clay. And then from that, we did a fan, what we call a fan fold. So basically, you just concertina it, like an accordion fold, fan fold, whatever. We just concertinaed it like that. Right, then what we did was we made it into a bit of a circle, because that helps us make our petals. So we fold it into a circle like that, but then we get the white bit and we pinch the white bit, so then we've got like a rounded off triangle. What we then did was covered all of that in red. So I'll just take this off here. So basically we covered this in red clay, number 1, right the way around that. Then we cut it in half. Once it's covered in the red, we cut it in half and made another triangle like that. Then we sit this is where we're up to now. We sit the clay triangle on the bottom and measure it so that the clay is the same width and length as the bottom of the triangle. That then goes over the top of the point like that. Hi, Mandy. Goes over the top of the triangle, and that's where we are at the minute. So you can see, and what I've done is cut that in half. No, that's right. That's where we're up to. So you can see we've got our skinner blend up to the light. We've got our point at the top. We've then covered it in red, cut it in half and put the two together. And then we've covered it in the black. But we've not gone right down to the bottom. We're only going halfway up. And then what we're going to do, get rid of all this excess clay here. We're actually making something like that. That's what we're aiming for, but we've used slightly different colours. So once we get it to a size we can cut it in half, that's ideal. Try and keep it as even as possible, and we just pull it and squash it. Try and keep those bottom bits rounded off if you can. It just makes it easier for keeping into a petal shape later on when you're sorting it out. Then what you do is you cut it in half. So let's have a look where half is. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're cutting it there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it so that the ends are together. So the middle bits, so it goes that way around. So we've got our ends that are both a little bit, what's the word? Like not quite right. We're going to put those two ends together, and then that's hopefully going to save wastage. And then what we do is we put them together and we're going to push them together at the bottom and then slowly force them together at the top. Trying to keep our petal shape, the bottom. So we just pinch the edges in, and then make sure we've got a nice sharp point at the top where the black is. So we're going to keep the black as the point because that's going to be the center of our flower. And as you know, poppies have got a nice dark center. And there can be lighter in the middle. Now then, what you can do is just keep going, cut it in half again. Hi, Dee. What you can do is cut it in half again, and then you'll get more stripes, and do the same again. But I like to leave it at this point because otherwise your stripes get lost. So when you're doing your flower cane, you see how this one, I'll just lift it up a bit. See how this one, the stripes in it? You can actually see those stripes. If you keep going and going, the stripes just become more of a blur. So I like to stop at 8 stripes and then 4 stripes of the orange or the red, black here in this one. So try and keep it as well so it's even from top to bottom, because sometimes when you're putting a point in the top, it distorts the bottom of the cane, so just pull it out like that. Keep doing your bit of a, to keep it rounded at the bottom. Nice sharp point. And then we're just going to reduce this until it's long enough to cut into 6 pieces. So I like to have about 2 centimeters. No, I don't know whether they're centimeters or not, to be honest. But I like to work off this block, acrylic block. So I use 2 squares, and I find that to be a nice cut, especially when I'm working with canes this size, because then it makes a nice flower that you can reduce a few times. So what I do is I keep bits of the cane at each stage. So what I'll do is I'll reduce this so I can get it into 6 but still have a little bit at the end. You can reduce it to 4, so you get 4, you can cut it into 4, or you can cut it into, camera's too high now, sorry, I forgot to put it back down. So you can cut it into 4, or you can cut it into 6, 5, 6, depends on the flower. Poppies usually have between 5 and 6 petals, if I remember correctly. They certainly don't have just 4. So now we've got it to a decent size. I'm going to cut the ends off, and that'll show you where we're at with the petal cane. We could actually do another half. We think we might do another half. Then again, let me see. I don't know if it's in there. You see that one? Yeah. What we're going to do, before I do cut it, I'm going to cut it in half again to make more stripes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'm going to cut that in half again because I don't feel like I've got enough stripes in the flower. So once we put it together again, you do the same again. Squash it in at the bottom, keep them rounded at the bottom, and then make your point in the black at the top. And then we're going to reduce again. And then you can see we've got more stripes. See that? You might find that you're more heavy-handed on one side, so your cane gets thinner on one side quicker. So just keep flipping it round like that. But we want to keep the black to be the point and keep our petal shape rounded at the bottom as much as you can. I know it's not the easiest because it wants to go into a triangle because you're putting the force, you're laying it flat like that. But try and keep it rounded. Because we're working with black as well, the outside of the clay can get a little bit mucky, but don't worry too much about that, because once we pack it, you're not really going to notice it. So again, we're going to reduce it so that it's to the edge of the tray, and then I can cut the ends off. And cut these ends off. That's the end. Cut that end off. And there you can see that's a much better stripe. Yeah, so then we're going to cut it into 6. And I'm going to cut it using 2 of the squares. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and that leaves us with a little bit of cane left to do other things with. Right, now what we're going to do is just bath with each one, make them a little bit make sure they're nice and pointy and rounded at the edges. If you made sure they're rounded, just pat them and make sure they're flat, and then place them down. Now I'm not going to do, because we've got quite a thickish black in the centre, I'm not going to give it a centerpiece. Normally you can put a little piece of a cane in the middle, like a swirl cane or a bubble cane is often used, or just even a single colour. But I don't think, if I put anything in here, I would put a bubble cane in, using blacks and grey probably, to form the centre of the poppy, because it's usually like full of little poppy seeds, isn't it? So once we've got all these petals formed, what we're going to do is put them together, and we're going to form our flower like that. So I tend to put them on the table, on my tile, and just fit them together as best I can. But we want to make sure that they fit bottom and top the same. So I tend to do, that one's a bit short, so I'm going to cut another piece off the cane. That's my spare cane, so that's better. That's more the height. Right, and then that one goes in there. Then we put that one in there, and that one lastly goes in there. And we're just going to push it together, but then we're going to flip it over and make sure that the front and the back are the same. Then we're just going to leave it stood on there like that, because that's when we have to start backfilling to maintain. I think I am going to put a little bit of something in the middle of there, but I'm just going to get a little bit of black clay. Roll it, and then cut it to the 2 squares, and then just stick it in the centre there. Touch it to that. I want to make sure it's in the point, and then that. All of them petals want to be touching that centerpiece, and they need to be this, oh, lost it at the bottom, need to be the same top and bottom, and squash them in, and that gives us a nice dark center that you get from your poppy. Right, now we're going to start with the back filling. So just let me tidy this bit up, because we want to get rid of all the black clay, because we don't want any black on our translucent if we can help it. Just put that petal cane back there. That's just a piece. Move all this. Keep them. Keep that. Keep that. Right. Put that there. Right. So now we've got a little bit of space. We're just going to put that to one side and bring our tile in. In fact, no, I'm going to place that on our tile and put it over here. And I'm going to use this for my translucent. And all I'm going to do is just clean off my pasta machine a little bit, so that if there's any black in there, it's not gonna come out onto the there's a bit of red in there. Right, so I'm just gonna unhinge this and just clean the pasta machine up because it collects clay underneath, and it prevents it from moving around, but it also puts that onto the clay that comes through the machine, obviously. Just bear with me a second. I'm not very good today. I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm struggling to pick things up. Right, so what I have is a few little brushes here. So if anybody's got a pasta machine, you love it. Cameras too. Oh, we sorted that. So what I'm just doing is putting, it's got spring loaded in here. And can you see, I don't know whether you'll be able to see the amount of clay. You'll see on that side. No, you can't. The amount of clay that clogs it up. So basically I'll just run like a little brush through it to get rid of all that clay. I don't take it to bits. We've done it. We have taken it to bits before, but there's no need to at this stage because we can just run our brushes through, and the spring lets the brushes in, and it gives it a nice clean. But you've got to be careful you don't cut yourself, because I'm always cutting myself on the sharp edges. Dear me, I'll try that brush. So just talk amongst yourselves while I'm doing this. How is everybody? I hope you're all okay. Mandy, hiya Annie. Mandy, have you got the message to send me your address, hon? I have got it somewhere, but it's in a message like way back. And I'll be scrolling forever. So if you can send me your address, hon, I will sort your prize out. Congratulations on being our winner. Oh, that's it. Got it now. See all that clay? That's just collected in one side. So you have to make sure your pasta machine is kept clean, because otherwise it'll clog it up and will stop it working. See, that's how much comes from the other side. So please be mindful of that if you're using a pasta machine. Mine's a Pro Cook. It's a canny little machine. I did have one. It didn't last. The last Pro Cook I had didn't last very long, but I think one of the springs went in it that controls the movement of the rollers. So just get some wet wipe and run it through. Clean that out. Excuse my breathing. I'm having a tough time at the minute with my asthma as well. So I might be a bit squeaky with my breathing. I suppose, Annie, you'll understand that, won't you? There we go. I think that's done. So we're just going to have to spin the rollers a bit. And we're sorted. So then what we're going to do is run some translucent through to make sure we're ready to condition it and ready for packing, because that's what I pack my canes with. So this is the packing. You see, you've got your flower in the centre there, and then this whitish is translucent. So when it bakes, it'll go sort of see-through. It gives it a lovely effect. So that's what we're going to do next. Now, I do mine slightly different because I can never get the triangles to fit in properly. So I do mine slightly different to the way other people do it. So just bear with me and I'll show you what I mean. Normally, people would make triangles. They'd either get them through their extruder or they'd make them. Now, me, as I say, I'm not very good with the triangles. I never seem to be able to get them to fit where I want them. And the flower still is quite distorted when I'm finished. Just get some Sculpey. So I'm made up my own way of doing it, which I found to be much easier. Where's my translucent? Is it here? There it is. There it is. So the translucent I'm using at the minute is Sculpey. Now, I'm not keen on Sculpey because it's quite a hard clay. It's takes a lot more conditioning than the Fimo, but it does its job. So we're just going to have to run it through the pasta machine a bit more than we would the Fimo. So I've cut a decent chunk off there. If we don't use it, that's fine. So I'm just going to warm it up a bit in my hands and then I'll start rolling it. How are you, Annie? Have you been okay? Because I know you've been struggling with your asthma as well, haven't you? So basically, to condition, you just have to warm the clay up. And the best way to do that is put it in your hands. Some people put it between the legs, sit on it, put it in their bra, all that kinds of things. The same as what you do with some of the waxes for diamond painting. But I find I just roll it out. And then I pick number 1 on my pasta machine. And I just run it through on a number 1. And I do it like I'm doing a skinner blend. So basically, I just keep folding it, putting it through, fold down, or I'll put it into 3 and put it that way down. So as I say, my pasta machine is a Pro Cook. It comes with extra bits to make spaghetti. So just a Pro Cook pasta machine, heavy gauge steel with chrome plating, with chrome plating, and it includes a worktop clamp. And the clamp is brilliant. I didn't like it to start with because it seemed to slide. But what I've done now is I've added on my chair. I use it on my chair, not my tabletop, because my tabletop hasn't got a ledge. So I put it on my chair, but what I'm finding is that it's better if I put a towel on the chair. A, it protects the chair, and B, it stops the pasta machine moving around as much so that it doesn't loosen the clamp. And I'm finding that's working a lot better. So all I'm doing is conditioning the clay by putting it through the pasta machine, folding it different ways, always putting it through the pasta machine so the fold isn't at the bottom. You've got to always make sure that you don't put it in fold first. So you always put it in either this way so that there's an exit point for the air. So that's a 3-fold. And then a single fold, you would put it in that way down. Okay, so fold first. It's starting to condition now. It's starting to get soft. So what I'm going to do is take it out, and I'm going to cut the edge off. Okay, I'm going to put that edge up against the thing, and I'm going to measure 2 centimeters, 2 squares, and cut pieces that are 2 squares to make a square 2 by 2, because that's the width of our flower. So then what I'm going to do is take this and just squash it. Oh, you're not too good today, Annie. Oh, I'm sorry. You take it easy then. Just be resting. Sit back. Enjoy me making a mess of things. So when we get our flower, we bring our flower back over, and what we're going to do is just stick that bit of clay as far down into that as it'll go, and then wrap it round the side of the flower one way. And we're going to do that right the way around the flower. So make it thin at one end, then put that as far down as it'll go, and then move it in the same direction. So always put it in the same direction so it flows that way around. Make sure it's the same bottom and top, and any excess that's sticking up at all, cut it off. Then again, do the same again. And then just slide that in as far as it'll go. I want it to be in the bottom. So we've got to, oh, it's curled a bit. So we want it in at the bottom, from there, and at the top. Just want to squash that bit a bit more. And then swirl it round. Okay. And we're just going to do that all the way around without trying to disturb the shape of the petals. Ah, Jackie, I've just seen you come in. How are you, my love? And we'll do the same all the way around. Always going in the same direction. Makes it a lot easier. And don't forget to check top and bottom. Then squash the side, last one. Open it up a little bit without distorting the petal. Put it in as far as it'll go. Oops, that opened up a bit too much. Put it back together. If it opens up, just put it back together. Make sure everything's where it should be, front and back. Curl it round. Same here, front and back. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to cut the extra bits that are sticking up at the top, because we don't want as much, we don't want any distortion, or as little distortion as we possibly can. So we'll just cut off the tops, the extra bits on the top, and that means it doesn't, it's less distortion on the flower. And what I've done is made sure they all go the same way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same, but in the opposite direction. And we're not going to go as far in. So we're going to do the little thingy again. And then we're going to stick it in that side and pull it round that way and try and join those two together. We don't worry too much if they don't join together, because we can always patch that later. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do that all the way around again. So again, we're not going as far in, but we'll go as far as the flower and the clay will let us. Remember, top and bottom, and then you go around to meet the other guy. Forget we need to be at the bottom of the other one. There we go. Again. And I find this a much easier way to pack, rather than working out those little triangles that might fit and they might not fit, and they're so fiddly that they stick to your fingers. And yes, Jackie, you should. I got Twitter. You should get a YouTube channel. You could do it, honey bun. If we can do it, you can do it. Nothing special to it, is there, guys? It's easy enough to do. You can go live on any computer, but you can't go live on a mobile device. I don't know about StreamYard though. Can you go live on a StreamYard device? On a mobile device for StreamYard, guys. Last one. Again, pinch it so it's nice and thin, and then stick it in till it meets the other clay and move it round. Now that one hasn't reached there, so we'll pack it. We'll just stick a little bit in like that. Right, so that's that bit done. So now what we're going to do, we've still got a little bit to fill in. So what we're going to do is just cut this again into about 2/3 of the square, of one square. If it helps if I use my knife, should lay it the right way around. We're going to put all that together. Then what we're going to do is just lay one of these pieces in the gap and push it in. So it bends into the clay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a pointy tool and just push it in a bit more. so that I'm just pointy tool and push it into the triangle, the clay, and then I'm going to get some more translucent and I'm going to push it through the pasta machine on a number 1 firstly, and then a number 3. So that's number 1, and then we're going to move down to a number 3. And we're going to cut it down to 2 squares. Just straighten it up a bit, and then we'll just, my hair must be falling out something chronic because it's all over this clay. Right. Make sure you're using the tissue blade the right way up. And again, we want to go so that it's just 2 squares. And we've got a nice straight edge. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to push this in. But we're not going to go, we're going to make sure, push it into that, each section. So we'll go right round. We haven't gone all the way. We can cut a bit more off. Again, I keep using my tissue blade the wrong way up. Staff beggar that I am. So then we miss that to there. Make sure. Mash properly. Then what we're going to do is push in. Again, we're going to push in each petal, around each petal, because we don't want to lose the shape of the petals. So what we're going to do is just keep filling. So we're going to add a little bit more, like a flat piece. Until it is round. And I find doing it this way, you possibility of getting more bubbles, I suppose, but as long as you push those out nice and firm, and make sure it's the same bottom and top. I mean, some might not even need any in, but any that's just bent slightly, just fill it in. And then once you've got it so that it's rounded, get all your clay back again, and we're going to put another piece all the way around. So get all your clay together, your translucent together, roll it into a ball about the thickness that you want, and then we're going to run it through the pasta machine on a number 3, and then I'm going to go down to a number 5. And see if that fits round our just right. So then we're going to cut this again to our size. Make sure our blade's on the right end. Okay. And then we're just going to cut the edge off as far up as we can. And then we're going to again go round. And you'll see this time, as you go round, it's just rounded off. So we've got a much better circle this time round. So then we just slice it where it meets and then put it together, and this is when we start to reduce. So that's what the cane looks like at the moment. So you can see, because of the way we've reduced it, we've still got a defined petal, which is what we wanted. So now I'm just going to trim off any bits that are sticking up further than the flower, because it's already going to reduce. We don't want any more distortion as possible. We want to minimize the amount of distortion as possible. So any bits that don't look like they belong, slice them off, and don't forget to do that front and back. So we've got a little bit of clay there stuck to that. We want that out of there. Make sure all the gaps are filled. There's a little gap there. We'll just fill that with, stick that in there, fill that with clay. Yeah. Right, and then we're going to start reducing. So the way we're going to reduce, let me just clean this area up, because I don't want to collect any more clay if I can help it. Right, let's put that to one side. Right, what we're going to do is we're just going to slowly, don't roll it at this stage, because you'll distort it more. So basically all we're going to do is just slowly spin it round in our hand, squashing it together. And as you can see, it gets wider and wider, but you've got to be careful of the distortion, because this Sculpey is harder to work than the Fimo. So you might find you get different levels. It's not, Jackie, it's not complicated and time consuming at all. I mean, 47 minutes and I've got a full cane done, and I had I've got a petal canes left, so I've got 2 little bits here, and I can reduce those even more to make smaller petals. So it's not as complicated as it looks. That's what's nice about it. It's quite simple and easy to put together, but gives a very complicated professional look, which is what I like to see. Easy but complicated looking. Looks like hard work, but it's actually not. So every now and then I'm going to pat it on the table to try and keep those ends. Some people have what they call cane ends. I can't seem to find them on the internet, so I must have a look on eBay. If anybody knows where to get them, please let me know. So I've also done, I'll show you in a minute, a different cane that I got from, what's the lady called? The Creative Dork. She's a fascinating lady. She just seems to, I don't know, just put stuff together and see whether it works. You know, she's a bit like me in the fact that she likes to experiment. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. You won't do it again. You give it a go, Jackie. It's not that hard. Do you do clay? You do, don't you? Because you've done those clay animals. And if you've done those, you can do this. It's just a basic cane. So basically, I'm just trying to keep it as even as possible and putting the same amount of pressure on each side. But it looks like one of the petals there is going to be really distorted, but we'll see what it's like in the middle. Sometimes it looks quite distorted on the outside, but when you actually get into it, it's not. See that? See this one here? Looks a bit more distorted than what I would like. So what I'm intending to do with these is make either little brooches or little magnets. Because people like their poppies, don't they? Especially this time of year. So I thought I'll make some. Once you get to about that size, you can start rolling it. And what I tend to do is just keep turning it. So I'll roll it like that, then turn it round and roll it again, so that the rolling is even across the whole. And then I just roll it until it's the size I want it. And then sometimes I just pull it. Got to be careful with the translucent. It does pick up all the different, because see this, there must have been something here. And it's picked up the colour. Sorry, I've got funny in my ear. Maybe that. Do give it a go and put on the Twitter or send me a picture. Because you've got me on Facebook, haven't you? Send me a message and show me what you've done, what you come up with. That would be lovely. Right, now I'm going to cut this to see what we've got at this stage. I'm just going to cut the end off, making sure I use the sharp side. So there is a little bit of distortion there with one of the leaves, petals, unfortunately, but it doesn't look horrible. It gives it like a 3D dimension, I think. What do you think? Let's have a look at the other side. Again, there's a little bit of distortion, and it's actually twisted. That's that bit, and see it's gone to the other side, so I don't know, but that's one side, that's the other side. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to cut in the middle, because I won't keep the full cane. That's better. We've got a lovely middle there, so that's gorgeous. So we can cut some at that size. We can cut some at that size, or we can reduce it down some more and make some slightly smaller ones. Some birds squirking out there. So what I'm going to do is reduce it to about where I had it the last time. Then again, cut it in half. So again, that's that. So we've got one that size, and then one that size. And then I'm going to reduce it again. Just make it that little bit smaller. And then we've got 3 different size brooch pins, magnets, whatever. And we can just keep reducing this if we wanted to. So there's the small. So that's what we've got at the moment. There's 3 different sizes. Now there's another flower I wanted to show you, but I won't show you how to do it today. But if you would like to know how to do it, please let me know. And it's dead simple. It's easier than this one, definitely. And that's to make this one. Now, I think it could be made in any colour. This one I chose, again, I was working on a poppy theme, so I used the red into the white skin and blend. Then I used the black as an outline to the petal, and for these centerpieces to make it look, give it a center like that, and then the little stripes. So you've got 3 elements. You've got the Skinner blend, and you've got to make sure that you use that right so that this white stays in the center. That's the most complicated part of it, is making sure you put these lines in the right place. That's the most complicated. So you've got your Skinner blend. It's much easier if you don't have a Skinner blend, if you just use one colour, but I preferred it with a Skinner blend. And then you've got this curved piece here. So you've got one cut here with the curve, then you've got another cut down the centre here. So you cut it in half, the petal in half. I'll show you on this. So you have your petal, you have your plug. I'll use this one. I'll make this into a plug. So you have your plug. Oh, I'll do this one. Right, so you have your plug and you make it into a round. And we've got to make sure that our white's at one side. So this is a round plug. There we go. Right, so we've got our round plug, we've got our white at that end, and then our red at the other side. So what we want to do is we want our red, white, want to pick which end we want in the middle. Do we want our white in the middle, or do we want our red in the middle? And it's important to make that decision now, because if you don't, then you've messed up your cane. So basically all you do is once you've got your plug, you can either use a Skinner blend or just one solid colour. You then use your tissue blade, and I'm going to use my thinner tissue blade. So you want quite a thin, flexible tissue blade. And we're going to bend it, and we're going to make, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, there's a lot of white in this. So what I'm going to do is go a bit further up. It reminds me of when I watched how sticks of rock is made. That's right, yeah. It's the same sort of principle as canes. So what you do is you bend your tissue blade, and we're cutting a bended blend in. And I'm going to go a little bit into the red, but not, well, I have gone about halfway. Right, so then we cut it like that. We're going to make another cut in the white piece section here, and we're going to cut down the middle. And we're going to make sure that we keep it like that, so we know which is which. We're then going to get a bit of black, or we could use another colour. Let's see, what colour should we use? I've got some colours ready here. We'll use yellow. Got a little bit of yellow here. I think that should be enough. Got a bit of yellow and a bit of orange. So we're going to use those 2 colours. I'm going to make it slightly different. So we're going to put this yellow, just warm it up a bit, wake the clay up, as we say, because it's just been resting there. So we're going to put it through the pasta machine on number 1. Right, so hopefully that'll be perfect. So then we're going to put that on there and cut it. Now remember, it's curved, so just give it a little bit of extra. Don't cut it right to the end. Then we're going to put that on there. And we're going to cut off any excess on the outside. So there's a little bit, but not much. Like that. So that's that end. And we're going to stand it back the way we had it. We're then going to get this other piece and we're going to put it at this end. So we don't want it touching. When we put it together, we don't want the yellow touching the yellow. So what we're going to do is just put it right at the end. So we'll cut a little bit off, not quite a square. Let's cut a little bit off. And then we're going to place that at the edge of the white, like that. So that when we put it together, it goes together like that. We could even just pinch a little bit at the end so that it's a softer and easier way to fit it together, so it doesn't stick out as much. So we need to put those two together the same way, top and bottom, and then we add that back on to there, and it's like that. Then what we do is we need to wrap it. So I've not got enough, although I might have if I put it on a, let me see, put it on a thin setting. No, I'm not going to have enough. Even a 9's not going to be enough. No. So what we're going to do, we'll mix the two actually. We'll do the yellow with the orange. Just lighten that orange a bit. And what we're going to do is add this around the outside on a number, let's see, number 3. Because we've mixed the colours, we need to put it through the casting machine a couple of times just to blend those colours together. And we're getting a slightly lighter orange. So once we've got the colours blended enough, we need to put it in a way that we're going to fit around that. And I wanted the thin one, so we're going to go for 5. I think we'll go for 5. I'll just split it there a minute, so we're going to go through it again. And that should be enough to go around there. So what we're going to do is just trim the edge off. Trim that edge. And trim this edge. And then we're going to put that around the outside of there. We need a flat side. So then we're going to, that's not wide, it's not wide enough. Put it all back together, put it through the pass machine again. Is that better? We're just going to cut the end off again. Keep right to the edge. Right, make sure we've got no bits on it. And then put that round. And that goes all the way around. And if there's any bits that haven't been covered, like the bottom here, we're just going to cut a thin strip and add that to the bottom. So that we've had good coverage. The whole thing's covered in the orange. Okay. So this is what we're experimenting with, this same cane that I did earlier, this one here, but we're adding more colour. Okay, so then we're going to start reducing it. Some people start at the bottom and work in and then start at the other end and work in, or they do each end. So one will do this end, then you spin it and do this end, and then you start working on the middle. Some people do from the middle and then work out. Personally, I just do it however I feel I can. Pulling it's my easiest, and then rolling it. But don't start rolling it until it's about this size. So then we start rolling, and we're going to try and make sure that it stays aligned, so that the yellow line, this little yellow line, and the white stays in the same place. So then what we're going to do is cut the ends off, like that, and like that. And then you can see you've got your start of your flower. So what we're going to do then is just pinch it where that white line is. And we're going to make that into a point. And then once you've done that, you can see you've got to slightly just pull that like that. And that strengthens it, straightens it out again. So we're going to make that into a definite point. And we can reduce it a bit more, because we're going to make a flower with it and we want about 6 pieces. And then we're going to pack it exactly the same way as we did with the last one. So this is already quite a smallish cane. So you might decide you only want to do 5 petals. But I'm still going to do 6 because I like to work with 6. It seems to go together better. And I'm going to give it an orange centre, just to tie in the orange from the outside. Covered petals. Okay, so then we're going to cut off the ends. And that's the petal that you've got. You see that? Okay, so I'll just put that there. And then what I'm going to do is get this bit and roll it up. And then what I might do is get this bit here and roll this up, which is just the end, just to skin and blend from the... I'm going to put both pieces through the pasta machine on the number 1. Then I'm going to put them 2 together, one on top of the other, squash one end, and then make it into a jelly roll, like that. And then what I'm going to do is just roll it. I'm going to cut it. That's the jelly roll we've got. And then I'm going to cut it in half because I want to keep some of that jelly roll. And then we're going to just reduce it. And reduce it so that it's... Just keep cutting it in half. I should use that bit. Until it's the size that I want. But you'll find that you sort of lose the jelly roll the smaller it gets. So it just gives it a little bit of a colourful centre, basically. That's all it's doing. Right, once we've got the size we want, we cut it. And that's, you can just see the jelly roll, can you? Can you see it there? Just see that jelly roll? So that's going into the centre. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut our petals into 6 pieces. And each one's going to be 2 squares long. There's just a little bit of resin stuck in there from the mat. which is a bit of a pain. So we're going to do each one 2 squares. Actually start there. Sure it's nice and straight. We're going to do each one at 2 squares. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we've got the petal cane, little bit petal cane at the end. So we'll put the jelly rolls, the end bits over there. We've got our different size, and there's that cane over there. And we're going to put all the bits out the way so that we know we've got space. I'm going to get my other acrylic board out because I think that's easier. What have I done with my little jelly roll? Oh, I think I've just binned it. What am I like? Just make another one. Right. Okay, try again. Right, so that's going to be our centerpiece. So then we're going to make sure our petals are shaped, make sure they're nice and round by just pinching in the ends. A butterfly cane, I can try. I did do one and it was a failure, but I will have a practice and see how's the best to do it, and I will then do a video on that. So then we put that in the middle like that, and we make sure that it's the right height. And then what I do is place it on the tile like that. Check my other petals to make sure they're all pointed and petal shaped, and then place the center, top and bottom, onto the jelly roll. There we go. And because we've added colour, we've just given this a little bit of a different look. But it's still like the same. But it has given it quite a different look, which I'm quite pleased with. It looks nice. So we make sure that the points are actually touching the jelly roll, not the other petals. Bottom and top. Bottom and top. And then we're just gonna push them in slightly, flip it over, and make sure our bottom is fitting the same as our top. It's not quite right. That's right. Now we're going to do the same as what we did with these and pack it all. So I'm going to need some more Sculpey out, some more translucent clay, and we're going to do the same as we did the last time. So we need to warm the clay up. Yeah, we'll definitely try and do butterfly cane for you. As I say, I did do one, but it wasn't on camera. But I did do a butterfly cane, because basically I've got a butterfly cutter, and all you need to do is cut the butterfly out, then wrap it. And it's whether or not you want to use a Skinner blend for the butterfly or what. It's not. It's pretty straightforward. It's just making sure that you pack it so that it doesn't become distorted within the cane. And that's some area that I always struggled with, was the packing. But now that I've got my own little way of doing it, I think I could quite possibly make a better job of it now. So what I'll do is I'll have a practice, Jackie, off camera. I'll make one and then I will show you how I made that one. I'll write down all that, because what I'm starting to do is follow the example of Jessamy. There's a girl called, I'm sure it's Jessamy Craft, something like that. She does a lot of clay. But she has a book where she writes it all down, and that's what I'm starting to do, is write down how I actually do the canes, so that if I want to make it again, I know what I'm doing. No, I don't prefer Sculpey. I find Sculpey is very difficult to work with because it's a much firmer clay, it's a much harder clay. Apparently it is better for canes, but I find it needs a lot of conditioning, and it's a very hard clay. So what I'm going to do again is just do the same as what I did last time. Cut some squares out. Get rid of the orange that's in there. Don't want that. Cut an edge. Put the edge against the squares. And then cut this edge so I can see the straight edge. And then again we're going to cut 2 squares. 2 squares. And we're going to make squares of 2 squares each. And we want 6 of these. And then what we're going to do again is just squash the end and pop it in. Making sure it's at the bottom and it's nice and straight. If you need to use a pointer tool to just get it in there, then do that. Once you've got it where the petals that you want, it's best not to manhandle it too much, which is why I'm not spinning it. I'm not picking it up and spinning it by picking it up. I'm just using the acrylic board to spin it, and then you're not moving the petals around once you've got a nice position, or a position that you like, of your flower petals. You're not going to constantly be moving them, which you would do if you were picking it up and down all the time. So it's just a case of gently opening up a little bit to get the clay in, and try and get it in the top as you do the bottom. That's it. And our final piece. Stick that in there. Make sure it's in at the bottom. There we go. And then we're going to just bend those so they're all going in the same direction, and it's nearly long enough to go all the way around. So if it does go all the way around like it is here, then just push that into that middle, and then we don't have to fill that with another piece. So we're just slowly bending them round and make sure they hit the bottom. I don't think that one's got to the bottom of that's it. Hang on, I've just dislodged everything. There we go. And move that round. Make sure it's the same top and bottom. Okay. Then we're going to do the same going in the opposite direction, if you remember. But we're not going to use as big a pieces, so I'm going to cut those pieces in half. Squish them at one side, like we did with the others. Stick them in the triangle bit again. And then I'm just going to leave them sticking out for now and sort them when I come back round, when I'm finished putting them all in. So there's one piece I don't have to put in, which is great. So then we put that piece there, as long as it's touching the bottom. There we go. And then again. You can hear me squeaking. And then round there again. Two more to do. And then that goes in there. And then we've got our final one. Again, squashed at one end, so we've got a thinner end, and it'll go into that triangle a bit better. Make sure it hits the bottom. You want to make sure it's at the bottom of the petals as well as the top. Right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move them round. If they don't meet properly, we're going to trim it so that there's no overlay. So just going to trim that off and take the excess off so that they meet better than, we don't want an overlay because that will just cause a little bit of problems later on. And then if it's above the top, just cut that off as well so that it's all even. If you wanted to, you could take those bits off and just stick them in the corners like we did the last time. So the excess, just stick it in the corner. And then we're going to cut our bits out and then stick them in the edges like that, like we did the last time. And cut that in half again. And then and that one in there. So it packs it up so that we've got a bit, when we put the wrap round, it's going to be, we want it to be round. We don't want the petals, we don't want it so that we're going in and out all the time, because then it'll distort, when we're reducing it'll distort it. So we want the whole thing to be round when we finished. So the idea is we pack these little petal bits so that the petal stays the same shape. Does that make sense? Because we want the petals to stay in that position. So in order to do that, we need to pack it as much as possible and fill all these gaps so that when we put one strand around, it's a proper circle. So what I'm going to do next is put this all through the machine again on a number 3. After I've just put them together a bit more. Put it together on number 3. I'm just going to excuse the camera wobbling a bit when I roll out, wobbles the whole table. Right, so I'll put it through in a number 1 first so I don't stress my machine out. And then on a number 3. Excuse the squeaking. Right, and then we know it's 2 squares high, so we're going to cut that rigged edge off. Right, and then we're going to put that against the line. And then we're going to, I think that might be a bit, well, we can always, if it's not quite right, we'll just sort it, I'll show you. Right, so then we're going to put it, and we're going to wrap that right the way around the whole thing till we meet at the other side. Then we're going to get the excess off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just use a needle tool and make sure that all the clay is compact between those petals. And if we've still got divots, if we still got like small bits, what we're going to do is we're going to fill those again with the clay. So we're just going to add a bit, another slither of clay. Let's cut some slithers off. Right, so we're going to use some small slithers, and we're just going to put another layer on in the gaps where the petals meet. And we're just going to go around it all, do the same again, and then we're going to put another wrap around the whole thing on either a 3 or a 5, depending on what will go right round it. So just cut the excess off the bottom and any excess on the top. Give it a bit of a squeeze to make sure that we're working without air as much as possible. And then we're going to make sure there's no colour in there, because we want this to just be plain Sculpey. My pasta machine does need oiling. It gets done on a regular basis, but it's just at the stage now where it needs another oil. It is a bit bad, isn't it? Drives me nuts. It'll get sorted when I'm busy with it, when they're watching the telly and they're like, oh, would you show them this pasta machine? And I'll be like, it needs oiling. Then they'll do it for me, because I don't like to do it. I've got a daughter in the house who's like an engineer. Well, she did a BTEC in engineering at college. So why should I, if I do it, I might do something wrong. I won't, but I would much prefer if they did it. So that's my translucent. So I'll put that back away. Just run it through the pasta machine so it's nice and flat. I'll make it onto a number 1. I always, when I pack my clay, any bits of clay, I put them in these page protectors, that you used to use at school all the time. I used to put in a file of facts. They've got holes in them. Do you know what I mean? Like the punch pockets or whatever they call them. And what I do is, once I've finished with my clay, whether it's got a pattern on or whether it's just plain, I roll it out on a number 1 and stick it on there. Then that goes over the top, gets folded in half like that, and it gets stored away flat. And I find it's much easier to condition after that. So there we have our petal cane, our flower cane. So again, we'll reduce it by just gently pushing it together all the way and turning it at the same time. We start off with this one, we tend to start in the middle because that's where you are, and push your way up to the edge and back down again. And the same, back up, then back down. And I tend to like to just pat my ends in so that they don't become too distorted. I would love to have some end cane ends. Oh, cane ends. But I can't find them anywhere. Once it gets to a point where you can roll it, then go ahead and do that. But I would wait until it's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches before you start rolling it, because then you get less distortion. Rolling it sometimes I find twists it. Right, so it's about right. So I'll start rolling it now, and I roll it to I tend to do 3 stages like I've done with this one. I tend to make it smaller and smaller until it's so it's different sizes for different projects. So there we have our flower. So that's size 1. I'm just going to cut a wedge off that. So that's size 1. Then I'm going to mix it, push it down. That's really pretty. I'm really pleased with that. The colours I've chosen are ideal. So then we're going to reduce it a bit more. Try and keep it even. Some people even reduce it, like roll it like this, and apparently get a better roll. I don't know. Then we're going to cut the end off there again, and there we have the smaller version. So I'm going to cut another section off there. That's gone a bit flat. So there's our small one, and then I'm going to roll it out one more time. And take the end off that, and a little bit off that end, and there we have our really small one. So there's the 3 canes. So as I say, this one is so much easier. It's really easy. The only thing you've got to watch is where you place your lines. So you've got to make sure it's on the end. It doesn't meet the circular bit in the middle. But that's such an easy flower to do. And as I say, the idea from that came from the Creative Dork on YouTube. She does a lot of past clay work and lots of canes. So this was from her. Then the other one's just a basic flower cane that a lot of people make. So I did that one. So we've got, let me just tidy up a little bit here, and I'll show you what we've got. I'll just do this one. Just bear with me a second. Just making some more sizes for you to see. And the other petals that I did earlier yesterday. Right, so we have that one. That's not got a clean edge. That's better. That one and that one. We have that one, which is the same as that one. Then we have that one. Just reduce this one a bit more. Just like to show you a selection of canes. Lisa, I'm so looking forward to what you make from your beautiful flower canes. Well, I have been I'll show you what I've made so far out of some of them. I started making little hat brooches, which I love. I really like hat brooches. Little bowls as well you can make. Because what you can do now that the canes are packed, you can actually change the shape slightly into a square, and it won't necessarily distort the flower too much, thankfully. Or you can pack it a little bit more so that you actually pack it into a square. So yeah, right, let's get rid of all of this. I'll sort that out later. So this is what we've done. So this was the cane that I did yesterday. I've just reduced it a bit more today, so you've got two different sizes. So that was the cane I did yesterday in preparation for doing them today. And today, on the same principles as that, we've made these. So we've got, I think they're just 3 different sizes, but potentially we can make another smaller one with this. So we can make 4 different sizes, at least 4 different sizes. So that's that cane. And I think that's more like the poppy that I wanted. Then we did, this was the cane I did yesterday, and I've just reduced it another twice to give you an idea on the 3 sizes. There's not a lot of that cane, but as I say, I was just doing it to practice on, so I didn't want to make a lot. So that's that one. And from that one, I've then used colour to create these. So we have, let me just put them together. We have the big one. Hiya, is that Jackie, JMC Creates? I think that's Jackie. So we've got the large one, the medium one, and then the small one. And that's just a cane end that we could just slice off the bits and use that as little key ring charms, extra bits that you add onto key rings. So that's the ones we've made today. So what do you think to those, guys? I definitely think I'm improving. I will have a go at doing the butterfly cane because it is something I've been wanting to do for a while now. And as I say, the last time it didn't turn out so well, but now I've got my own idea on how to pack. I think it'll be a lot better. So I will have a go maybe today doing that, but I won't be videoing it. And if it works, then I'll do a video on it. These ends won't get like destroyed. I'll keep these ends. Some of them I'll make into like right, this one for example, I'll put it through the pasta machine. Where's it? On a quite a low setting so that it gets stretched out. And then I'll use maybe a small butterfly cutter or a heart cutter and make some earrings or something from the pattern that's in there. Or I could use this as a veneer, so like for making these needle pods, the needle tools, you could do that to make them. Jackie, I don't know. I really don't know what I'm going to do with them just yet, but it is nice to have them. You can use them in doing painting work with, like painting with clay, where you make a scene. They make nice brooches, needle minders. I'm thinking of cutting these up and making them into little brooches as poppy canes or as poppies. So if anybody wants one of those, just let me know. It's easy enough to slice, and I will slice and bake them. I can put holes in them to make them into pendants, earrings. They often look nice as earrings. I can also do them, as I say, as brooches. whatever you want, I can do that with. And now that I've done it once, again, I've got it all written down in my little book. So I know how to make it again now. It's a bit distorted still. So you just want to see how that's distorted still. You just keep on cutting until you get to the flower that you want. And then these ends, as I say, these ends just go through my pasta machine. And then I can make long skinny patterns like that. Or what I'd do is put it through using, so say I might start at number 3 at one angle, one way. So I've got a bit of a chunky bit here. So what I might do is put it through one way. So you get that. Then I put it down and 2 notches lower and put it in sideways. So then it pulls it out like that. Then if I want it further that way, I'll do it through the pasta machine again on a lower setting. And I'll just keep doing that until I get the shape I want. So that shape there's nice. So then I can either put a butterfly cutter on there, heart shape cutter on, cut out the bits I want, leave it as it is, use it as a veneer. It does look like it feathers the long bit, so it can be used as a feather. It can be used as a veneer on something. Like, let me see. I've made these little books. Well, that's the intention of doing them. So this, I'm not so keen on the dark colour because with it being translucent, this was supposed to be like a greeny colour, and it just turned out more of a grey, like a greeny grey. So instead of it being green thrown through the transparent, the translucent, it just looks dark and dingy. But I've put 3 holes in, and the idea is I make a little book out of it. So you've got plain paper in there, we put a backing on it, twine round through the holes, and it's nice little hardback book. So we can use that. We can use that using veneers. So any of these veneers will just go on. You pick a piece of clay, you can put the veneer on, and you can do that front and back. As long as these are not too thick, you want a number 1 setting, then these on a probably a minimum of 3, put them on a veneer front and back, and that gives it a nice colour. So there's lots of things you can do with them. I mean, you could just cut these out and make a veneer. I did some, just bear with me a second, I've got some stuff that's in the oven. So this was what I made yesterday using the canes that I made. Those canes I've shown you. I'll keep that piece, I really like that piece. So from this one here, I made this. And it's just a little bowl. It's quite thin, but it's sturdy enough. And then if I coat that in resin or give it a finish with my polyacrylic sealer, just to give it a bit of a shine. We could polish up, we could sand it up and give it a shine, but I haven't really got the stuff to do that. My husband's got some polishing compound, so I'm hoping he'll let me use some of that. We can sort of put a high sheen on it, or we can just put resin and a sealant on. So that's one of the things I made. Then that's just a plain, like, button type thing. It's just a plain circle to show that that I've got in my kit, just to show what I can make. And I've done a couple of those. Then from the scraps, like all of these bits here, these end bits that are no good, I cut them up, twist them, squash them together into a block, and then cut them into slices and join them together. and that like a Natasha bead, but I've been making them into bookmarks. So you've got a really colourful bookmark. This has got translucent in it, pinks and reds. It's from that cane, the end bits of that cane. And then you put a hole in, we'll put a tassel on there, and that's your bookmark. We've got another one that can be used as a bookmark, which was more black in it. That was the more poppy one that had the blacks in it. And again, the translucent, and you've got like patterns, slightly different patterns on either side. I also did some smaller ones. Small studded earrings, yeah. I've always done these smaller ones. These could be used as earrings. Some people like that kind of thing as earrings, or just little bookmarks or key rings. We could also put something on there. We could stamp it or put a flower on, make it a bit thicker. We could put a date on, or you could put a letter on to represent what it's for, that kind of thing. Then I made these from the stretched out flowers. We cut out that so it's more like a flower, so cut off the translucent. Then I stretched it and made these butterflies. So the way I cut it, picked it so that it cut up into the right shape to make the butterfly, so that the wings are all matching, and then the black in the center was stretched enough to make the body, and then I just cut that. I'm going to be so busy this weekend. And my husband's supposed to be taking me shopping for some clothes. I don't really want any clothes, but I don't really want to go shopping. There's another butterfly. Then I made these flowers from the leftovers, and they're just made from the cutter. And I've picked two of them and stuck them together. This one's got 3 on. It's slightly different colours from the other cane. And that one's got three flowers rotating inside, so it's more like a chrysanthemum. And then we just had the plain one without anything else added. We made some little, like, just beads, like swirl beads. And then there was another butterfly there, made from the other cane. And then we made these little hearts. I keep saying we. I don't know why I say we. It's me. It's because I'm a twin. And all my life I've talked in plural. And that's why I still do it now. And then those little hearts. I actually quite like those. Again, these were from a Natasha bead. So I'm going to put a hole in them and use those as earrings. I think they've been really pretty as earrings. So that's the stuff you can make. Some of the stuff you can make out of the canes. I like these little bowls. I'm going to try and make a few more of these little bowls, but bigger. Yes, I have been using them in in resin, and I'm going to be using some more. I think I might use some of the flowers canes on the chest sets, as long as I've got enough of the cane to put them on, and make some bigger canes so that I've got enough slices. I think I probably need double that. So before I started, not reduce it too much and just keep the bigger cane, make it into a square to put it into the mold for the chest set. But I do like these little pots, and basically they're just put over a lid, jam jar lid. I have got not a jam jar lid, a medicine bottle lid, or a lid from a bottle, like these lids, just them little lids. Or this one was put over a medicine bottle lid, to make them. These is what I use to make my hats as well. I put them over that and then cut around the edge, leave that in because it doesn't melt, because it's baked at such a low temperature that it doesn't affect the plastic, which is great. And I've also just found this one that had cocktail sticks in. So I think this one would make a nice one. We could use it to make handkerchief, bowls, or just square. We could actually make little containers in the square, proper cubes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing. And now that I've actually managed to do some decent petal canes, I'm really pleased with the results of these. And I'll just keep practicing, and practicing doing now that I've mastered the art. Because one of the main issues I had before was the filling. Bye, Annie. You take care, my lovely. One of the main issues I had was actually filling it up, to keep the shape. And now that I've sussed it out my own way, not trying to follow everybody else's way, I'm having much more success. So yeah. So that's it, guys. That's my cane. Jackie, I will look into doing a butterfly cane because I have cutters for butterflies and things like that. That shouldn't be a problem. And we'll see what we come up with. So on that note, guys, I've been on now for nearly 2 hours. Wow, that's a long stint. So thank you so much for gonna get Lisa. I enjoyed watching you while I worked. Take care. You should put yourself on the back. What do you mean? Are you off now, Mandy? Thank you for watching, my lovely. For your support, I really appreciate it. Don't forget to send me your address, lovely, and I'll get your diamond painting out to you very shortly. Okay? Time flies when you're having fun. It does, Jackie, and I've really enjoyed today and having a chat with you and doing my clay. It's been good. I've also, remember, got the petal canes left. So I've kept some of the petal canes. I've got a swirl cane. I've got a petal cane left there. There's another petal cane. And then there was that one from yesterday. So we've still got some petal canes left that we can use as well. So we don't throw any of this stuff away. We make stuff with it. So there we go. Right. On that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. Please remember to pass on a smile if you get the opportunity to. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, and you haven't already joined our team, please consider doing so and hit the bell to be notified whenever I do a video, which these days has been once a day, although there probably won't be that regularly all of the time. It depends on whether Mr. Postman's been or Colette. Nice to meet you. I haven't met you before, I don't think, but thank you very much for watching. And please consider becoming part of the team if you're not already there. There's loads of fun people here, and we're all a laugh, good laugh. So please join us, and hit that bell, as I say. We do all kinds of crafts here: resin, clay, yarn, whatever you can think of, I do, or I have a go at. I love experimenting. That's me. So, yeah, on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. Please remember to pass on a smile if you get the opportunity to. And I'll see you next time, guys. Bye. If I can get my mouse to work. There we go. See you guys.